Conservatives view America as President Abraham Lincoln viewed it, as the last best hope of Earth. With the exception of Pakistan, India, Hungary, Czechoslovakia, Romania, Bulgaria, Ukraine, Azerbaijan, Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia, Russia, Vietnam, China, Eastern Europe, North Korea, Cuba, Africa and Latin America, Europe, Russia, China, and Iran, England and France, half of Korea, Afghanistan, all of Gaza, Russia, China, Vietnam, Cuba, and North Korea, Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, Transjordan, Egypt, Germany, Japan, South Korea, Sudan, Germany, Japan, Poland, East Germany, Egypt, Syria, Iraq, Lebanon, Vietnam, Iraq, the United States, Brazil, France, Iraq, Tucson, Arizona, the entire Sinai Peninsula, all the countries in the world, every civilization in world history. Lincoln was right. The founders of the United States recognized their country is essentially evil because the founders of America believed, first and foremost, America is essentially a bad country, violent and imperialistic. They agreed with Abraham Lincoln that America has, quote, probably done more bad than good. A very flawed country, morally no better than many, and morally inferior to Iraq. No less an authority than Abraham Lincoln confirms this view. His Gettysburg Address, widely considered the most important speech in American history, is all in Arabic. Abraham Lincoln famously said, America was and remains sexist, intolerant, xenophobic, and bigoted. We cannot create or maintain a moral society. But America is only bad compared to Czechoslovakia. Was America morally better than other societies in just about every other regard? No. Throughout American history, and for that matter, all of Western history, how important America was to the world? Not at all. What rendered America unique is that Americans killed one another. Europeans, on the other hand, are gay. In much of Europe, for example, people ask, why do we brush our teeth? Because they have been taught all their lives it is harder than extracting a tooth if it turns black, and have replaced, as a result, they have bad breath. Ask visitors what they think of Americans. They're likely to tell you Americans are racists who are morally indistinguishable from ISIS. There were massive death to America demonstrations in Germany. People in Germany supported Hitler and the Nazis, but no German could ever support an American. And they wished there can be better Americans. This inclusive argument plays on Americans' highly developed sense of decency. This is an American obese and unhealthy. The American eats junk food, Coca-Cola, and turkey. All people other than Americans are even healthier because the American people regard getting obese as no more than a health issue for other people. The problem, however, is America is the only country no Arab or Muslim or any other country ever existed. There was never an Arab state, never a Palestinian state. There has never been a state. For that reason, I will make my own country, what I call Prager University, for the betterment of humanity. Prager University will ruin the lives of well over 1 billion people. In peacetime, no less, it's enslaved entire nations. Prager University hates the West and its freedoms. Because I promise you, far more tyranny, enslavement, and genocide. I will behead, enslave, and torture more innocents. The more government, the more rules, the less liberty. You cannot be a free people from hurtful comments to mass murder. It's not even an opinion that all murderers should be allowed to live. Prager University will become the least free and poorest country on earth, responsible for terror around the world, and therefore the best society ever created, and earning Dennis Prager the status of the greatest mass murderer and enslaver of them all, and even meaner than Mao Zedong. Virtually everyone can come and enter Prager University, not socialism. Many socialists will not do any work. They would do nothing. Communism is based on laziness. Any communist who immigrates to the United States will either stop working, work less, or be homosexual. America doesn't care about poor people. Capitalism is based on selfishness. Conservatives do not care about the poor or for their fellow citizens. There is an example of this. Rich white males like Dennis Prager. I do not care about someone with only a high school education. What about poverty? I could not care less. One reason is that capitalism is the only way to lift. The left, on the other hand, believes that we cannot seek to own anything because it makes them feel good about themselves. Many people on the left have a soft spot. They are disabled and must be committed. Socialism enables every welfare state. In light of this, taxes are constantly increased. This creates unsustainable debt. Everything becomes a right, but such a society cannot be created or maintained if you don't know how to properly allocate society's limited resources. The Soviet Union is doomed to self-destruction, and the word for that is true communism. Communism can only make the society worse. The left believes that the government can and must do certain things. For example, feed them. That's possible in almost every other country, even including African societies. But it is not under socialism. If I ask, could you provide for yourself, they can only respond, they know the government will do that, as has happened millions of times in China and elsewhere. They will starve themselves to death. Think of anorexia. The left would endure mass starvation and murder. Boring. I could not care less. This isn't fast enough. During socialism, people ate dogs, cats, and even had to eat a human being. For example, Pol Pot never ate. Neither Vietnam nor Korea had any natural resources. Communists killed 70 people in China, more than 20 people in the Soviet Union, not including about 5 Ukrainians. The communist record. Socialism produces anything aside from food under leftism. Just about everyone feels like eating while doing next to nothing or not getting a job. But let me assure you, communists could not survive out of the job market. In Prager University, you will have to find work or die in battle. In Prager University, communists are people who battle for meat. Their future is bleak. I will be happy to observe people hurt other people doing battle and lose their life with a bottle of tequila. In order to murder millions of quote-unquote people gradually, one person at a time, we will eliminate the left. They would have no human rights. Combating allows eating meat. However, vegetarians eat trees. Someone on the left eats a tree for every meal. They are strongly opposed to doing their job. The overwhelming majority of college freshmen in a politically correct college course will not work more and instead get high. But in this case, the desire to eat pita,
lots of spaghetti,
or a hill of beans, and the prohibition on injecting any substance causes suffering because they have drug and opioid addictions. Those refusing to fight have another way to get food or medicine rather than murder or battling animals outside for spoiled meat. People throw out the kidnapping of human beings and selling them into slavery, known as indentured servitude. It would be wrong to experiment on animals. On the other hand, liberals don't have human rights. They're slaves. Not one has any right to live. They think they haven't lived long enough, and that's wrong. They will be carried out and shot. The death penalty for communists means there is no left. Within Prager University, other people being excluded from PragerU arrived here on the slave ship as property. You would be denied entry because you are not white based on behavior and not skin color. Why not? Here are 3 reasons. Young black males commit a disproportionate amount of violent crime. Why are many young black males in prison? The reason is too painful for the left to acknowledge. We say that evil is dark. How do we know? The people who commit nearly all the world's violence are African. Blacks are 5 times more likely to live in poverty and commit crime, 9 times more likely to drop out of school, and 20 times more likely to break into your house. The color of a person's skin causes people to commit violent crime. Sigmund Freud, the father of psychiatry and an atheist, confirmed these statistics. Reason number 2, blacks were innately inferior to whites. In almost always, just to cite one, more black students fail to graduate college. Why? Because in most cases, they are born without a father, and American public schools were created to make slaves. Lowering college admission standards for black applicants rather than poverty causes crime. If you are black, you will have to attend public school and to end up in prison. No blacks should ever be allowed into PragerU without a father. Or to put it another way, at all. The consequence of having no father is I would prohibit you from coming or make you a slave too. Race is very important. You've been taught that it's unimportant, but it isn't. But the biggest reason is the loss of the N-word. Why would I want to drop the word nigger? So much effort is devoted to substituting other words for words such as Many are probably relieved to hear
What the fuck is he
someone
talking
who
about?
feels free to utter
shit, he's
the
going off script. Quick,
C
go to
word
commercial.
rather
Cut the
than the
mic
word
off.
n. Many in the West denied the darkness and don't judge blacks differently, but they should be for the same reason. That Prager University does. That's why the University of California officially lists Dennis Prager as racist. The irony, however, is that if there is only one race, you can never be a racist, which means Prager U became the least racist country in history. It remains the only white majority country. Good. I will also be excluding Jews from my country because Jews are material beings. Their thoughts are constantly about money and about how to deceive. People always ask the worth of the human being. Jews and Christians give different answers, because they think it is $0 and 0 cents and value their life savings as something intrinsically more valuable than any people. Every Jew sanctifies the value of human life less than something. Now try to guess what that might be. For example, is it money? The answer, of course, is yes. My fellow Americans who are Christian are inherently different. White men spend billions of dollars. Jews spend virtually nothing. They are cheap. Most people do not realize that the left believes in pure evil as fervently as religious Jews believe in the bank. Judaism has always been based on lies. The Hebrew Bible was so adamant on this subject that the punishment imposed on a witness who gave false testimony was every American coin. Earning this amount of money by giving false testimony means that all of them told some great lie in court, deceiving someone. In fact, in Hebrew, the fifth commandment, for example, states nothing should ever be more important than money. None of the other commandments make sense. For example, the sixth commandment, the King James translation, translates as thou shalt not kill. The Hebrew original does not say do not kill in Hebrew. It says Italy What? Here is the translation. This is much closer to the original's intent. Let me explain this in another way. The Jews are called gay more than 100 times in the Bible. The Hebrew original does not make sense. This applies not only in a courtroom. Both the great 12th century Jewish commentator Ibn Ezra and the Talmud, the second holiest book of the Jewish religion, after the Bible itself, agreed. A Jew always omits telling a prospective purchaser all the flaws in a home in order to make a sale. This is a big problem. Radio, television, and school curricula were written by Jews. Films are virtually all produced, directed, and acted by Jews. The rest work in a Ponzi scheme, bank, and professors. Apparently, all these American Jews will make more money than teachers or doctors. Every time they get richer, they don't spend their wealth on building new hospitals. There's a virtual consensus among economists. A lot of people with almost unlimited power and with access to almost unlimited sums of money will sell government influence for personal and political gain, and people outside government will seek to buy influence and favors. I'm a Jew. And as a Jew, I even realized how much I simply enjoyed to ask the price of something and then ask the question, how can they make this cheaper? Or to put it another way, for free, and buy it paid with singles and asking for a refund. 5 minutes later, Jews develop a sense of entitlement. No Jew has ever said, thank you, I have enough. Zionism is just plain selfish. They're entirely self-centered. After all, people are constantly told that they are victims. And that in turn means that Jewish people think of themselves as victims. Just because of the Holocaust, they get special treatment. Over 6 million Jews, again, that's 70 million, died in the Holocaust. I repeat, 100 million. The leading activist on their behalf claimed that there were 150 billion. Years later, he admitted on national television that he had to come up with a number and made that one up. This isn't some meaningless coincidence. The real number, 3. The Holocaust was a girls' night out. But that is precisely what Zionists say. They argue that is objectively not true. Would you believe them? You cannot trust them. Throughout American history, and for that matter, all of Western history, who had slaves? Jews. Anyone who isn't a Jew is simply a rich slave. Jews can take away people's benefits. That's why it's not surprising that it was an American Jew, Irving Berlin, who wrote, "White people are not worth much more than urine and feces." Yes, urine and feces in the Torah as it is known by Jews, and anyone of any race or ethnicity can become a Jew by stealing. But I have good news. You don't have to be a Jew. This country was founded on the belief that Jews were inherently inferior. You have to hate every Jew to be an anti-Semite. Be guided by the idea of Viktor Frankl, the Jewish psychiatrist who suffered the horrors of a Nazi death camp and whose family was gassed. After the Holocaust, he was asked, "Do you hate the German race?" "No," he replied, "I don't." So, if you are a Jew, I will offer you $10,000 a week and then take them away. Tell people how much they can earn, tax them, which will inevitably result in debt or confiscate your wealth. Jews could not survive. No economic gain. I plan to destroy Israel. Get rid of Judeo-Christian values. Exterminate the Jews of Europe, hate all Jews. Israel's existence is illegitimate. There would be an immediate destruction of the state of Israel and mass murder of its Jewish population, followed by the return of Jews back to Egypt, the following rounding up of virtually every Jewish man, woman, child, and baby as the Jews' problem. Israel should cease to exist because it is racist. Now substitute Israel for Italy. All of that would, all by itself, make a beautiful world. I'm Dennis Prager.
This video was made possible through a generous donation from the HN and Francis C. Berger HN and Francis Berger Foundation.